On February the 4th, 2015, TransAsia Airways Flight 235 clipped the Huandong viaduct in Taipei, Taiwan, before crashing into the Keelung River below. The plane had just taken off, and now it was in the river. The plane, an ATR-72, departed Taipei's Songshan Airport at 10:52 a.m. local time, bound for Kinmen Airport in Taiwan. Shortly after takeoff, a fault in the number 2 engine caused it to shut down. However, the flight crew misdiagnosed the problem and instead shut off the still functioning number 1 engine at an altitude of 1,630 feet, 500 meters. With both engines shut off, the plane entered a steep bank at nearly 90 degrees to the left as it descended. After narrowly clearing an apartment building, it continued towards the Huandong viaduct. As the plane flew over the viaduct, its left wingtip struck a Volkswagen taxi traveling in the westbound lane, injuring the 2 occupants. The rest of the wing then clipped the viaduct's guardrail, breaking it off. The aircraft then crashed into the Keelung River below, breaking into 2 pieces. Of the 58 passengers and crew aboard, only 15 would survive. Within minutes of the crash, fire department, military, and volunteer rescue workers were at the scene. Survivors, located mainly in the rear of the wreckage, were rescued and ferried to shore in inflatable boats. Divers were forced to cut the seatbelts of the dead passengers in order to recover their bodies, a task made all the more difficult by the poor visibility underwater. The aircraft's flight recorders were recovered shortly after 4 p.m. and sent to the Taiwanese Aviation Safety Council. Analysis of the data showed that just 37 seconds after takeoff, the aircraft's right engine triggered an alarm. Although the flight crew reported an engine flameout, data showed that the engine had in fact been moved to idle power, which failed to provide enough thrust to the propeller. The ASC issued its preliminary report on July 2nd. It stated that the still functioning engine number 1 was incorrectly shut down by the pilot following the failure of the right engine. The pilot had previously failed a simulator test in 2014 for being unable to handle an engine flameout during takeoff. He later passed the test the following month. The final version of the report, released in July 2016, stated that the following events occurred. Following the flameout of the right engine, the pilot reduced power and subsequently shut down the other, working engine. The flight crew failed to properly identify the malfunction, causing the pilot to become confused. The loss of engine power during the initial climb generated a series of stall warnings, including activation of the stick shaker. The flight crew, however, did not respond to these warnings in a timely manner. The loss of power from both engines was not detected and corrected by the crew in order to restart the left engine. The aircraft finally stalled during an attempted restart at an altitude from which it could not recover control. Flight crew coordination and communication were less than effective, and compromised the safety of the flight. Both pilots failed to gather relevant data from each other regarding the status of both engines. TransAsia Airways offered compensation of $475,000 to the family of each victim. The disaster, the airline's second fatal accident in 7 months, resulted in the airline ceasing operations, and it shut down indefinitely on November 22, 2016.